It's a story shaking Cleveland and the nation. Two children, just 9 and 10 years old, now facing shocking adult-like charges. Prosecutors say the pair lured a 5-year-old girl into a field where she was brutally attacked, beaten, and left bloodied and bruised. The victim's mother says her little girl was found nearly unrecognizable, her tiny body covered in scratches, debris, and blood. Tonight, both suspects are charged with attempted murder, rape, kidnapping, and assault. Charges rarely seen for children so young. Police say the case has been handed to Cleveland's Sex Crimes and Child Abuse Unit as investigators piece together how something so violent, so unimaginable could happen among children. The community's heartbroken question tonight: how did innocence turn to horror in a Cleveland field? But first, in a heartbreaking case that gripped the nation, 3-year-old Emmanuel Haro vanished on August 5th, 2025 from Yucaipa, California, sparking widespread fear and a lot of confusion. His mother, Rebecca Haro, initially reported a kidnapping, claiming she awoke from unconsciousness to find him missing. But investigators dug deeper and soon uncovered glaring inconsistencies. 2 months later, big breaking news tonight. Jake Haro, Emmanuel's father, has pleaded guilty. And tonight we have all the latest and what it means for the search for baby Emmanuel and what it means for Emmanuel's mom, Rebecca, who is still facing murder charges. I'm Vinny Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. And yeah, this is a big story, not necessarily expected, especially the way it all went down. Of course, we're talking about little baby Emmanuel. Think about the short life that he had and what he had to endure and how his life was ended. You know, you come into this world, you don't ask for it. You know, it's a decision, it's a choice made by your parents to bring life, right? The gift of life. And this gift was tortured and abused. And it's incredibly tragic. Now, the first story we heard was from Mom, Rebecca Haro, who told us about Ola Man. And I think all of us were like, okay, I guess it's possible. We want to believe parents when they say their child is missing and they need help finding their missing child. The community wants to jump in. But this story, as she's changing the diaper in the back seat in a parking lot, a public parking lot in front of the Big Five Sporting Goods, is changing the diaper. I get it. Like, people do that. You know, your mom, oh my goodness, we got to change his diaper, let's do it here. Rather than go inside and go to the bathroom there. Might be easier just to do it in the back seat. And then she says she hears someone say, "Hola." And then she's knocked out cold. Just knocked out cold. And then when she comes to, Emmanuel's gone. Like, you want to believe it, but it never really made any sense. And today, Jake Haro, the father, told us that there is no one. It was not Ola Man, it was him. It was Jake who did it. He pleaded guilty, admitted to this, absolutely admitted to it. I am responsible for the murder of my little baby, who relied upon me and his mom for everything, and we gave him nothing. Nothing. And tonight, as we sit here, despite the guilty plea, the question still lingers: where is Emmanuel? He has not been found. Somebody over here knows where he is, but he still hasn't been found. Okay, let's take you inside the courtroom. We've got some video of the guilty plea itself. There were some rules about what you could show and couldn't show inside the courtroom today. So that's the reason for the way you're going to see this, but you will hear everything. Let's take you in.
How do you plead to the charge in count 1 of the amended felony complaint of violation of Penal Code Section 187A?
I'm guilty.
And for clarification for the record, that's going to be in the second degree?
Yes.
to the charge in count 2, a violation of Penal Code Section 148.5, a misdemeanor.
Guilty.
To the charge in count 3, a violation of Penal Code Section 273A-B, subdivision A, a felony.
Guilty.
Do you also admit the aggravating factors listed in the amended complaint?
Yes, I admit.
Okay. Sir, moving on to banning case ending in 717, how do you plead to the charge in count 1, a violation of Penal Code Section 29800A1, a felony?
No, guilty.
To the charge in count 2, a violation of Penal Code Section 30305A1, a felony?
Guilty.
Sir, in banning case ending in 265, do you admit that you violated your probation, specifically term 1, that you violate no law or ordinance?
I admit.
Factual basis? Or do you want the court to take a factual basis from the complaint?
Yes, please.
Mr. Haro, we'll start with case ending in 808. Sir, do you admit that you committed a violation of Penal Code Section 187, subdivision A, a felony, in that on or about August 5th of 2025 through and including August 14th of 2025 in the county of Riverside, state of California, you did willfully and unlawfully murder baby doe, initials EH, a human being?
I admit.
Sir, do you also admit that you committed a violation of Penal Code Section 273A-B, subdivision A, a felony, in that on or about August 5th of 2025 through and including August 14th, 2025 in the county of Riverside, state of California, you did have the care and custody of baby doe, initials EH, a child under 8 years of age, and did willfully and unlawfully assault said child by means of force that to a reasonable person would be likely to produce great bodily injury, resulting in the death of said child?
I admit.
Again, there were restrictions on what you could and could not show inside the courtroom, and unfortunately, we couldn't show you, but you heard those guilty pleas. Let's bring in our guest. Joining us, special guest, retired FBI Special Agent Bobby Chacon, who has over 20 years experience executing searches and is an expert in criminal investigations and lives in that area. Also with us, the man who's been on this story from the beginning, founder of On the Tira News, Ahmed Bellozo, who has been on the ground following this case. Ahmed, let me begin with you. You are the one who has brought this story to many people across the nation and around the world. How surprised were you today going to the courthouse and then Jake Haro admitting he murdered his baby?
My jaw dropped. Even now, hearing this segment as you presented, that was the first time I heard it in real time. I was at the courthouse this morning, and I thought it was going to be early enough, and I had some other appointments, and so my health, as you know, I've been dealing with issues, so I chose my health. I didn't think he was going to plead guilty. I thought I was going to move forward into preliminary, so I was shocked, and I found out my HR called me and said, look at my message, and I was like, so I'm still, even now, in awe. Jaw dropper.
Bobby Chacon, this is unusual. One thing we didn't hear in that guilty plea today, Bobby, which I would want to hear, are some of the details of what happened that may perhaps help lead to finding little Emmanuel.
Yeah, and you know, we often see this left out of an allocution, you know, as we heard today. Hopefully they've made that part of the deal, if in fact they've made any kind of deal with him. Hopefully they've made it part of the deal that he gives up where in fact little baby Emmanuel is. They could make that. It's a negotiation like anything else, and they could put that as a bargaining chip on the table.
I want to throw this out though, Bob. The DA said no deal. This was just him coming into court saying, I did it. That's how, I mean, Bobby, you've been in this in the criminal prosecution business for how many years? How unusual, how rare is it to have someone just come in and say, I did it, when they're charged with something like this?
It's very rare that they don't try to, that the defense attorney doesn't try to get some kind of concession from the prosecution, right? So I have seen it, we call it plead to the indictment, and that's basically a pleading to exactly what you're charged with, which is unusual because, you have the right to go to trial and you have the right to try to negotiate, your defense counsel does, and they often do, try to negotiate some kind of deal with the prosecution on what little you might be able to get. It depends on the strength of the prosecution's case. Sometimes if the case is so strong, the deal is not too great or there's no deal at all. But it is unusual for a defendant to come in and just plead to the charges without any kind of concession on the part of the prosecution.
Ahmed, let me ask you, what's you got your ears to the ground out there. What's the buzz now today after Jake goes in there and admits to all this?
Well, from what I understand, that it was a calculated, it was they executed it very calculated and very precise, and I have more information, and I want to give it up now because he pled guilty already, right? And so, please, you're smarter than I, and so please tell me if would it jeopardize anything, because we know Rebecca's gonna go. It doesn't matter what happens. So, would I say forward? Can I just put it all out there now? Because does it really matter anymore? I'm asking you.
Yeah.
I don't want to jeopardize anything. And there's really nothing to jeopardize anymore, right?
I don't think there's anything to jeopardize here. I think the investigation is what it is. He's pleaded guilty. They've got him. The question is what happens with Rebecca. But do you think this whole thing is going to impact her case?
So these are the facts that I haven't put out because I didn't want to jeopardize the case because Jake didn't know what we had. So we obviously had the Waterman discount where we know that Rebecca had the black eye since at least the 3rd. Now, I don't know if the black eye has anything to do with obviously with the outcome of baby Emmanuel. We now know it goes back down to the 5th, but we also had the footage from the funeral, and that was on the 5th, and Rebecca was asked if, in fact, where the baby, and she said the baby wasn't there. So, okay, we know that much. What we don't know, or we haven't put out, is that 7, 8, 9, August 7, 8, and 9, we have video footage of Jake leaving his house with multiple bags of stuff, where we know now that he did take to a store there in Beaumont, where the first item that he donated to this store, and I forget the name. I could get it for you later, but it was all these items, and so pristine items. And when the police came, they asked the owner, was there any blood on it when you sold it off? Was there any sign of any usage? And she said no. These were pristine items. So he was, that's when they were trying to figure out if it was premeditated murder or not, right? And so we have video evidence and also multiple witnesses that seen Jake come in on the 7th, and then on the 8th he came back again and he asked if he could use the dumpster, and he threw the 5 grocery store bag size of items in the dumpster, and the lady obviously let him use that dumpster. That dumpster goes where I had showed that with the bulldozers and all that. Now, he came back again on the 9th and he donated another item, which was a stack of baseball cards or collector's cards. And they sold it off the same day. So there's people out there who have Emmanuel's clothes. They have Jake's baseball cards. They have the swing set, a bassinet. I mean, there's so many items that he was getting rid of. And we know now
Ahmed,
because we had him on video and audio.
He's putting, wait, I just want to stop you because I want Bobby to comment on this. Bringing bags to a dumpster. So people don't know what were in those bags. Let me ask you, Bobby, and then we'll let Ahmed finish this story up. But to me, that's an incredible lead, but that's incredibly difficult to track down at this point, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we've done landfill searches, and they're very, very difficult to try to find out where the trash went and then get into that landfill and find out where those items were. The items were either, and especially like Ahmad said, if some of those are pristine, they're simply him trying to shed any sign of Emmanuel in that house. if he murders that child and the mom is still there and she's upset about it, he wants to erase Emmanuel from that house. He wants to get rid of everything that might remind her of Emmanuel. He wants to get rid of all the kids' belongings, even if they're brand new and he never used them before. He's going to get rid of them. He's going to donate them. He's going to give them away. He's going to throw them away because he doesn't want a constant reminder of the child he just murdered around the house.
Okay, Ahmed, continue.
So we now know that he was throwing the clothes in a dumpster at this facility. And you know what's crazy is that this facility had, and I didn't say this before because I didn't want to jeopardize the case. This facility that he went there because he was on probation. They had a contract with the sheriff's department to not send any child predators or any child abusers at all. You could do your probation here. Is an antique store with old ladies. That's why they didn't want no abusers. And the sheriff's department, not only did they release him and not send him to prison, but they also sent him to a pre-release program that forbid under contract to send any child abusers. And they still sent Jake Haro. That's how he knew about that place, because Jake worked there after he got released from jail. So the system just failed and failed and failed again. And now Jake was utilizing the same failed system to use to destroy evidence. The sheriff's department sent him there when they were supposed to. They were not supposed to send him there. Ask the owner of it. She told me they were not supposed to send him here. And I told them, do not ever send a child abuser here. I'm an old lady. It's an antique store. And they sent Jake Haro.
Unbelievable.
It gets me so mad. It gets me so mad because the system just failed the entire. They failed this little boy over and over. And not only him, so many people were affected by this. It's just disgusting.
Yeah. Bobby.
It gets me so angry. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. I mean, everyone's angry about what happened.
The sheriff's department has a lot to answer more than just the evidence. They should have never have sent him there. The lady didn't want abusers there, and they still send him.
Let me ask you, Bobby.
I don't know who fumbled that ball, but they can't blame the judge. They cannot blame the judge.
Not the judge on that one, no.
The sheriff's department sent him there.
Let me ask you, Bobby.
I'm just saying.
So now you've got Jake Haro pleading guilty, admitting to it all, and Rebecca is still facing the murder charges. What are your thoughts tonight about what law enforcement may be doing or may be thinking about as they are still, I'm sure, preparing the case against Rebecca?
Yeah, that's a good question, Vinny, and it all depends on what the prosecution, what cards they have to play, right? I'm sure they've approached her defense counsel or her defense counsel has approached them, given this new development. And so they're probably talking over whether or not she can plead to lesser charges. You always want to hold the most culpable party responsible to the harshest penalty. So, if their investigation reveals that, say, the husband, the father killed the baby and the mother helped cover it up by creating this stupid story that nobody believed from the beginning. And so she's culpable to a lesser degree in the murder. Then you kind of let her, maybe plead to some kind of lesser charge. So I'm sure they're going through that process now. Now that they have him off the table, they have him to the highest charges. Now they go back to her and they could negotiate something, or she could decide to plead to what she's been charged with, or she could ask maybe to plead to a lesser charge.
Ahmed, before we run out of time, what are you hearing or what do you know about the status of the relationship between Jake and Rebecca? Because Jake could stay silent through all of this. He could become potentially a prosecution witness. He could potentially become a witness for Rebecca and just take the entire responsibility here. What do you know? What do you think?
Me personally, I don't think anything Rebecca says from this point on matters whatsoever. She's gonna get pretty much the same sentence, if not worse. Maybe lighter, it doesn't matter. She's not gonna run away from this. I don't know the status of their relationship, but I know that at this point, I don't think they're ever gonna see each other again. If you ask me.
Well, they could in a courtroom.
Other than in court, obviously.
Yeah, they could in a courtroom, but that's the only place. Bobby, we have about 20 seconds here. I'll give you the final word.
You know what's sad is that out of all this information that came out, they still can't tell us what they did with him. Like, they could tell us everything now, but why can't they just say, this is what we did with him. Whether we could find him or not, at least we know where he's at. But whether they know or not, they're not telling us. And I tell you, he's in the landfill. That's what I think personally.
Yeah.
But I can't confirm that. Obviously, I don't know, and I don't have that. You know, I don't have those resources, so that's just everything. It leads me to the landfill, as I said. But it doesn't matter at this point. The evidence that we have, we already had Jake, and he knew that, and that's why he did everything he did, because he knows there's no outcome. He's gonna get.
There's no way out of this.
He's trying to bring lesser charges, lesser time.
No way out of this.
There's no way out of this.
Bobby, I'll give you the final word here.
Now
in the last
needs to think the same.
In the last 20 seconds, how do you think all of this resolves itself? What are you feeling?
Well, I think it's going to be very. I think that Ahmed's right. I mean, the only thing remaining is where's the little baby. That's the only thing we need to know and we want to know. And whether or not we actually find that out, I don't think we will. Unfortunately, I want to, and I want everybody to know. But it doesn't seem to me like we're going to get that answer.
All right. Big thanks, Bobby Chacon, joining us. Ahmed Bellozo, thank you so much, and I hope you're feeling okay tonight. We appreciate your time. All right, folks, when we come back, our think tank is locked, loaded. They are ready to go on this story, plus coming up next hour.
Tonight on Vinnie Politan Investigates, she was a devoted mother, a respected nurse, and by all appearances had a perfect life. But one night in Duxbury, Massachusetts, police say Lindsay Clancy did the unthinkable, turning her home into a crime scene of heartbreak. Was this the act of a killer or the cry of a mind in crisis? Tonight, we investigate.
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan Investigates, tonight, 9/8 Central, only on Court TV.
Donna Edelson wasn't a regular mother.
She's the matriarch mastermind.
She's just being a parent, not a killer.
Victim to Verdict with Ted Rollins, season finale, Saturday night at 8 Eastern and Pacific.
Only on Court TV.
He was abducted last night from Big Five. Somebody struck my wife while she was trying to change his diaper.
It's appropriate to have a press conference because it was the defendants in this case that had a press conference first. And they did so in order to tell the public, the media, and ultimately law enforcement that their child had been kidnapped, when in fact that's not what occurred.
Within 24 hours through video surveillance, we found inconsistencies in Rebecca's statement.
Here in Cabazon at the parents' home, it is now a massive crime scene since the parents' arrest early this morning.
The filing in this case reflects our belief that baby Emmanuel was abused, victim of child abuse, over time, and that eventually, because of that abuse, he succumbed to those injuries.
There is some level of cooperation with the suspects involved in this.
I believe that both of them are guilty, that we can prove it's guilty beyond a reasonable doubt for both the murder and the filing of the false police report.
Following the case of Jake Haro and Rebecca Haro.
The search for baby Emanuel continues, but Jake Haro admitting his guilt inside of a courtroom today, pleading guilty. I want to put this up, though. This is the most important part of this guilty plea that you need to understand, and it has to do with the nature of this plea. Jake Haro's guilty pleas were to the court and not a plea agreement with the district attorney's office. Okay? To the court. In a plea to the court, a defendant enters guilty pleas to all charge counts, and the judge in the case determines the sentence a defendant will serve. Haro faces a potential sentence of 25 years to life in prison. It wasn't a deal. He just said, I did it. What does this mean? How does this impact the search for baby Emanuel? And how will this impact Rebecca Haro, Jake's wife and the mother of Emanuel? Let's bring in our think tank. Joining us tonight, criminal defense attorney, legal analyst Carmen Rowe. Also with us, attorney Ali Benevento, and criminal defense attorney and lawyer Lori on TikTok, Lori Murray. All right, Carmen, what does this mean? How does it impact? How insane is all this? We rarely see this. I'm not gonna congratulate him or give him a pat on the back, but finally, a defendant who is guilty gets in there and just says, I did it.
Look, Vinny, I don't know what this means, but my take on it is we're never going to know who actually killed this little boy. What I think is going to happen, because he's not getting any benefit from pleading guilty without a deal, is that likely he's giving way to his wife, who will likely make a deal, perhaps tell us what happened, and perhaps even tell us where the body is. If all of those things come true, maybe there's some deal out there for her. But the problem, and keep in mind that while the state may make a deal with her, assuming that he's the most culpable party here, we'll never know unless they actually check the math on what she tells investigators and prosecutors. So I think this is for her to make the deal now, and I think he stepped aside so that she could. That's what it looks like to me.
Allie, is that what it looks like to you? Is this about love? Jake loves Rebecca?
I don't know. It may be, you know, we have a saying, especially in federal court, the first person to the trough gets fed. The first person to cooperate typically gets the best deal.
But he's not cooperating.
Could be what Carmen's saying, but it also could be
he's not cooperating. He's not getting a deal.
Guilty, so perhaps he is going to. He has not been sentenced yet. Perhaps he is going to present information about his wife. Perhaps he's going to present information about where the baby's body is. I don't know what he's up to, but perhaps it is that he's trying to save himself and throw her under the bus.
So you think this is about him, not her, lawyer Lori?
You know, I have never seen this happen before. I mean, he walked in within 4 months of, not even 4 months, I think, 3 months, and pled guilty. The issue, I think, for the wife is that, you know, if he's talking and he's pleading guilty, they don't necessarily need to give her a deal. They might just come in and say, we've got him. He's going to testify against you. Maybe they give him this aftermarket deal on his sentencing, like Allie said. That could very well work against her because she didn't come in.
I'm trying to figure out how that works. He went in there and pleaded guilty. He's going to be sentenced on November 3rd. She has a preliminary hearing scheduled for November 3rd. So I'm trying to figure out the timing of all of this and what this is. We're in uncharted waters here. These are like uncharted waters.
Well, Vinny, keep in mind, too, that you can't make him testify. He doesn't have to take the stand. All he has to do is be sentenced, and the state has the opportunity to put on additional evidence, which is plenty of his other bad acts and criminal charges. But to suggest that this doesn't happen, it does happen. Generally, the state doesn't waive a jury, and they make him plead guilty to the jury and then have a sentencing hearing. But I think that he's going to go in there. I don't think he's going to testify. I don't think we hear from him. Why should he tell us anything at this point? He's going to be sentenced. And if there was a deal to be made with the state where he tells us something, it would have been made by now, not in front of a judge.
How does the judge handle this? Does the judge give him credit for doing this?
I think the judge would give him credit. I mean, but at this point, the judge doesn't have to. He didn't have a deal on the table. And I'm just, like I was trying to say, I'm just trying to imagine the demons that are running through this guy's dreams at night to make him actually walk in and just say, I did it. Everything you want me to plead guilty to, I'm guilty of.
Is there any chance that he walks into the courtroom during her trial and tells the jury, I did it? It was all me. She lied about the Ola man because she loves me and she wanted to protect me. She wanted to be with me. But I did it. I alone did it. I did it before to another baby, but that baby survived, but is, you know, forever, injured as a result of what I did. I'm the bad guy. Allie, is there a possibility that he could do that?
Sure, there's a possibility he could do that. I don't know what the dynamic is between the two of them, but I think what you're presenting is kind of what Carmen was getting at, that perhaps he is laying himself down as the sacrificial lamb here, and he's willing to take the fall for all of it. It's just, it's a bizarre way to do it. It's unusual, but I don't think it's unheard of. Maybe also his conscience is bothering him. I don't know if everybody saw, but in one of the news conferences, you know, he's crying. He's sitting there crying at the plea hearing. It's bizarre.
You think it's possible he has a heart?
I don't know. I mean, he just pleaded guilty to killing a baby. So, I mean, I'm not saying he has a heart. I'm saying perhaps he recognizes that what he did was atrocious, and maybe he feels bad. I don't know. Maybe he's crying because he feels sorry for himself. We can't possibly know what's going through his head. But no, I don't think that all of a sudden maybe he is sorry. I don't know. Haven't talked to him, but. Yeah. He admitted guilt and he's accepted responsibility, and we'll see what the judge does with that. Does he get credit for accepting responsibility early on? He killed a baby. I can't imagine that's going to make a whole lot of difference.
Yeah, no matter what, it sounds like he's done. Like he's going to get whatever the maximum is, right? Is there any reason to not give him the maximum, Lori?
There is no reason unless the judge just, has a fine spot for him in his heart, which how could you kill the baby?
It's tough. And it's not just killing the baby.
Prior.
And there's the prior too. That's the problem. And that's the reason why if he came into court and said all that in front of a jury, it could actually help Rebecca in all of this. It's a strange circumstance, but we'll find out more November 3rd. Think Tank staying with us. When we come back, this is a tough one. The victim is 5 years old. The defendants are 9 and 10. The charges are things that you can't imagine that a 9 and 10-year-old would even know about. That story next.
I could not recognize my daughter. Her hair was ripped out of her head. She had blood and bruises all over her. Her nails was filled in dirt.
It's a real quiet, empty street for the most part, but it is a lot of kids that's down there on that other end. It's just disturbing to know that it's kids that's on my street that's young enough to know to do stuff like that.
I'm going to warn you, this is a tough one. This is, I don't know if we've seen anything like this to this degree. 9 and 10-year-old suspects, 5-year-old victim. Nadine Abusada from Scripps News Group has the story.
She a mini you.
Yeah, she literally will crack you up. Like, she's so proper, the way she talks, everything about her is just like bubbly.
When talking about her 5-year-old daughter, Antavia Kinnebrew lights up.
She is very, very affectionate.
But sadly, that joyful spirit
it was horrible.
Is broken.
The bubbly 5-year-old, and I know she was not there no more.
We're not naming the child or showing her face because she is a minor. But this horrific story begins on September 13th. Antavia says she left her 5-year-old daughter at a family member's house. Then she got a call. Her daughter was missing. When she arrived, the little girl was already in an ambulance.
I could not recognize my daughter. Her hair was ripped out of her head. She had blood and bruises all over her. Her nails was filled in dirt, and she was unresponsive.
Antavia says her daughter was taken to a wooded area where a group of children attacked her. The allegations, which include sexual assault, are too disturbing to share with you.
That is so evil. It's so evil.
News 5 reached out to Cleveland police regarding this incident.
What can you tell me about this investigation involving a 5-year-old allegedly being assaulted?
It is an active investigation that the Cleveland Division of Police is conducting at this time.
In a statement, the department confirmed that the Sex Crimes and Child Abuse Unit is actively investigating a case involving multiple children under the age of 10, both as victims and as suspects.
And we have to protect the rights that the victims have, just as well as the suspects in these cases.
Antavia says her daughter spent about a week in the hospital. The moment she opened her eyes,
she was screaming. When she woke up, she said, "They killed me." She thought she was dead.
The memories came flooding back.
To hear your baby say that she dead, what? A 5-year-old shouldn't even know that word. Like,
how is she now?
She's struggling mentally and behaviorally. She say things that she never said before, more violent, more suicidal things.
She says now her focus is on just 2 things: making sure her daughter heals and getting justice.
You posted about it. Why? Why did you want to speak out regarding what happened to your daughter?
Because I needed justice for my daughter.
So when you say justice, what does that look like?
Everybody involved in the pain that was inflicted on my daughter, they get what they deserve.
This is, let me put up the charges. She didn't say what the charges were. Here's the charges against the 9 and 10-year-old. 1 count of attempted murder, 4 counts of rape, 2 counts of felonious assault, 1 count of kidnapping, 1 count of strangulation. Okay, Lori, what do we do with the 9 and 10-year-old?
You want to talk to the lawyer or you want to talk to the mom? Because there are 2 different opinions going on in my head right now. I mean, as a mom, I would like to bury these children. I would like to lock them away, and I would like to never see them again. As a lawyer, they are children. They would hopefully be able to be rehabilitated. So, I mean, it's juvenile court. They go into juvenile court and then hopefully get the treatment and help that they need. I have no words for this. This is the worst thing. You know, I keep saying this is the worst thing I've seen on my videos. I keep saying that, and then, you know, Satan comes in and moves the bar a little bit higher. And this is horrendous. There are no words for this. I don't know if you can rehabilitate kids like that. I would hope that you could. Defense attorney in me says, let's try. But the mom in me says those kids need to be locked away in a mental institution at best for a very long time.
Yeah, I mean, I think they can only hold them until they're 21, Allie. In juvenile court, this thing's not getting waived up to adult court. 9 and 10 years old, not happening. Usually in Ohio, it's like 14 is the age. What do we do, Allie?
Yeah. You know, this first, I mean, I echo what everybody else is saying, thinking I can not think of anything more atrocious than what we've just heard and seen. But, you know, a case like this with perpetrators that are 9 and 10 years old puts the criminal justice system, the juvenile justice system, in a really difficult position, right? You know, this is a terrible act of violence, sexual violence against a little girl. But we're also talking about 2 children themselves whose brains are not fully developed, and who, it kind of begs the question, what has been happening to these 2 children in their home or in their environment that they even know how to perpetrate or could even conceive of perpetrating these types of acts of violence? And so we've got 3 children here who are in crisis. My heart breaks for that mom, for this little girl who's never going to be the same. And at the same time, I have to think about the parents of the 2 children who perpetrated this kind of horrific violence on another child. What is going on? And the difficult part is going to be to hold them accountable for their violent acts, but also make sure that the best interests of all of these children are served. It's tough.
Carmen, obviously they won't be locked up for the rest of their lives. That's not going to happen. They're going to be out when they're very young. But my main concern is always safety. Safety first, the safety of the community. How can we ensure that the community will be safe from this 9 and 10-year-old for the next 50 years?
You know, Vinny, this case is fascinating because it's unbelievable, unimaginable, but it's also fascinating because they don't charge 9-year-olds generally in Ohio. If this offense occurred in Texas, there would be no charges because we don't charge children who are under 10 years old. But more importantly, you think about it, like, how do we establish competency for a 9-year-old and a 10-year-old? How do we hold them responsible? And does the juvenile justice system in any state, but in Ohio as well, have the ability to even handle this matter? And obviously everyone wants justice. They want help for these kids. They want to see some sort of consequences, rehabilitation, counseling, all the things. But can that happen inside this facility? And as we watch this, we're going to learn for the first time what you do with a 9-year-old who may or may not even know right from wrong, much less be able to establish competency to go forward and be heard on charges.
Yeah, I don't think, you know, the element of punishment here, you can talk about it, and I understand it from the mom's perspective, wanting justice. Then I'd look at the reality of it. We know that they're not going to be, we know that they're coming back into society. We know that they are damaged already. And I'm wondering if our system needs a little bit of a redo in how to do this and how to protect society at the same time that you are trying to
some level of accountability, but and making them as, I'm not going to say better, because they're not going to be, I don't think this 9 and 10-year-old can be completely healed because there's something terribly wrong there, but get them to the point where they may be able to be with other people in society. This is so difficult. This is one that's, I think, stumps our system and stumps the host of the show tonight, Lori.
I think it's extremely difficult. When I was first looking at this story, you run the gamut of the emotions on it as an attorney, and what kind of system that we have that can take care of this. And you said a reboot to the system. I don't know that we have a system in place at all for dealing with this. And there are other kids that were involved in this that were younger that are not being charged.
Wow.
So those kids are still out there and they're not being punished, which goes to her, I want justice. And I just don't know that you'll get it in the way that she wants it.
Big thank you, Carmen Rowe, Ali Benevento, Lori Murray. Fantastic job as always. When we come back, I'll reveal something else you need to know, plus coming up next hour. Accused of murdering her 3 young children. Her defense claiming postpartum psychosis. Prosecutors calling it cold and calculated. The tragedy has torn a community apart and reignited a national debate about mental health and motherhood. Was Lindsay Clancy a monster or a victim of her own mind? Tonight, we investigate.
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan Investigates. Tonight, 9/8 Central, only on Court TV.
Welcome back. Time to reveal something else you need to know tonight. Let's take a look at the big board. The verdict is in for Daisy Link, charged with second-degree murder with a firearm in the shooting death of her boyfriend, Pedro Jimenez. She is the one who made national headlines for getting pregnant while in jail from the reproductive fluid of another inmate who was 2 floors above her and was sending it down through the air vent. I don't know much more about that. But take a look now at the aftermath of the shooting of Pedro and then today's verdict.
Pedro, what the happened?
Pedro.
Where's the ambulance?
They're coming, Mama. They're coming.
Hey, no, hey, look at me, please.
439 feet.
Pedro, please. No, Pedro, hey, look at me, please. Pedro, I need you to get up. Pedro, please. Pedro, please.
We, the jury in Miami-Dade County, Florida, find the defendant, Daisy Link, as to count 1, second-degree murder, guilty of second-degree murder. If you find the defendant guilty of second-degree murder, you must answer each of the following questions. Number 1, did the defendant actually possess a firearm during the commission of the crime? Yes. Number 2, did the defendant discharge a firearm during the commission of the crime? Yes. 3, did the defendant discharge a firearm causing death during the commission of the crime? Yes.
She thought the baby would be a get-out-of-jail-free card. It was not. Good luck for that baby. All right, take a look at your screen. We have a missing child who needs your help. This is Zaire Fonseca Perez, missing since October 8th out of Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, just 15 years old. If you see Zaire, please pick up the phone, make a call. 911, 1-800-THE-LOST, or you can call the Bethlehem Police Department in Pennsylvania. Numbers on the screen. Let's get Zaire to a safe place tonight. Don't go anywhere. We have another hour of live true crime. Vinnie Politan Investigates is next. In the meantime, please don't forget to hug the kids.